Oh boy, do we have a video to go through today. So, first off, let me start by saying credit to Tectone for finding this. I didn't even know this existed. But apparently there's been a video, an interview. Apparently there has been an interview with the Genshin developers, and I'm going to be looking at the article over that today. Uh, I've seen like one of the things in this, and I can already tell I'm gonna be mauling out pretty much for this video. So, oh boy. So yeah, we all know Genshin Impact has had a lot of problems over the years. There's been stuff like elements not being balanced, like Geo being clearly worse than a lot, if not all, of the other elements. That and then there's just unfixed bugs as well, like Bennett C6, stuff like that. It's not a bug so far as it's a design flaw. They've had bugs like Yelan's special move, along with like any other character's special move as well, getting stuck on stairs, getting stuck on ramps, basically anything with any sort of debris would like completely stop your movement. They recently fixed that, so good on them for that, I guess, but why did it take so long? And another thing is uh, feature designs being really, really bad. So, for example, something that's been talked about in the community for the longest time is Bennett's C6 not being toggleable, which is brought a lot of people have asked for quite a while, like, why isn't this a thing that the game has where you can toggle the constellations? But yeah, we haven't gotten really anything about that, and then we also haven't really heard much about like if they were going to be improving stuff like the resin system and stuff like that. It's like the resin system, it's like it's capped. And the thing about the resin system, it's like weekly bosses, they take resin even though they really don't need to, right? Because that cuts into your daily resin as well. And then there's like the capped part where it's like we could really use some more resin per day, because yeah, as much as I hate the resin system in general, if you're gonna have it, there needs to be more of it. So that's like the general overview I have like coming into this. And so let me just pull up the article now so you guys can see it. Let me just here. I'll actually move myself over here so I'm bigger. I can go. Whoa! Look at that. I'm even bigger now. But yeah. And if you're wondering why this article, if you've seen this article and you're wondering why it's dark, I'm using Opera GX and I have forced dark mode on because otherwise my face lights up like a Christmas tree. So yeah, let's get into this. Let's see what it's all about. So we spoke with the developers behind Genshin Impact to learn more about what's coming after version 3.1. So 3.0 and 3.1 are expected to be 1 week shorter than usual. In the future, will you be continuing with these shortened version lengths, or should players expect update releases to return to their former pace? Starting from version 3.0 to the end of 3.2, the length of each update will be shortened to 5 weeks, but a shorter update cycle will not influence the quality of gameplay and content. Please stay tuned. Okay, that's good because for one, it's a really long wait for one thing between the patches, and a lot of times the patches content doesn't actually last very long. So having less wait time in between patches is always a good thing. Um, Currently, the Spiral Abyss is the only true endgame content for players at high adventure ranks. Are there any plans to release new, permanent endgame content in the same vein as the Spiral Abyss? Now, this is a huge issue with the game right now, is there is no endgame content. It is literally just Spiral Abyss, and then you come back for events, and you come back for new characters, and that's basically it. Along with if you come back for the story and whatnot, then but yeah, so there's like no actual end game right now. It's literally just Spiral Abyss. You go to the 12th floor every like month, and that is it. So like you can play you basically have less than a day's worth of content for the end game every month, and that is absolutely horrible. Uh, so we definitely need smooth stuff. So let's see what they said about that. The Spiral Abyss is one of the most effective ways for players to test out their party composition and combat strength. If we design another type of permanent endgame that is similar to the Spiral Abyss, it might end up creating excessive anxiety for our players. Not everyone is interested in Musk Reef. What the fuck does that mean? Just like the Genius Invocation TCG that we unveiled in special program for 3.2, we are also working on designing more interesting gameplay in the future. As an open world game, Genshin Impact has a natural compatibility with various types of gameplay, which gives us confidence in the long term operation. So, are they saying they're not going to be adding anything, or that they're not going to be adding anything yet? Because I did see something about the trading card game. Don't know really anything about that. I just heard that we're getting one. It's just I don't know. It doesn't matter. But um, this right here, this if we design another permanent type of end game that is similar to Spiral Abyss, it might be end up creating excessive anxiety for our players. That's fucking bullshit. For one thing, it's like I said before, it is literally like less than a day's worth of content. And two, once you actually like, it doesn't take much to upgrade your characters. You just have to know what you're doing, and for that, you can just look up like basic guild build guide. It's all, or just run like attack percent, uh, element comp, whatever. Right? It's just the standard stuff. It's you don't need. It's not that hard to build characters. Spiral Abyss is not difficult to complete. Once you, it's literally just overpower the enemies. It's not even really all that complicated. It's just you just build up your characters and then you're good basically. Why would that give people anxiety? Just have another end game content. Give them something to do, right? It doesn't even have to like give rewards. So it's like maybe they're thinking that if we have another thing where we give players rewards for it, they'll feel like they have to do it and then they won't like it. But the thing is, for that is you don't have to give rewards for everything. You could actually just make some enjoyable gameplay. Like that would be the ideal solution to this problem is just make some fun gameplay and then don't give out like a ton of rewards for it or whatever. Because like what are you going to do right now for fun gameplay? You just go fight things in the open world. You farm your like 5,000th hilichurl mask. Like what's the play here? I don't understand it. But oh boy, we're just put that aside for now. It's not good. Hopefully, yes. Here it says we're also working on designing more interesting gameplay in the future. Hopefully, they follow through with that and completely forget about whatever the fuck this means. Uh, so yeah, let's just move on. Genshin Impact is going into year 2 with an ever expanding roster. Some older characters might get left behind as power creep settles in and newer characters become much stronger choices. Is there a plan in place to potentially upgrade older characters and make them more viable? Okay, so this is an important thing as well because it's a live service game, obviously. Uh, you really, if you want old characters to be relevant, you really do need to actually go through and like reevaluate what's going on, right? It's because it's like I'm sure like all this time ago, right? When they first came out with the game and they had like Kazuha, they had Klee, right? I doubt when they had those characters, they were like, you know what? Yolon's gonna be balanced exactly like this, and this is how her stuff's gonna work, and this is how the numbers are gonna work, right? It's like they keep having to add new, stronger enemies, and that's just how power creep works. And for that, obviously, you should go back and check out the older characters. Just give them a tune-up. Just a bit of just a little numbers buff. That's like the bare minimum you have to do. You don't have to give them like a full rework. You can if you want. That would be super cool, right? Sometimes old characters they're not great. Give them like a rework, make them a bit better, a bit more cool, gets people back playing those characters. That's always fun. This is something that like League does constantly. They'll like go back and they'll like give buffs and nerfs for stuff, and then they'll also like so I'm saying League of Legends in case that's not obvious. League of Legends as a live service game as a comparison for this. But yeah, they go back. people may not agree with always with League of Legends balancing, but they do always go back and like just give some basic buffs, basic nerfs, different stuff for characters that might have like fallen out of the meta, or they have uh, different things that aren't really working recently. Hello, just wanted to cut in here for a second and say, yeah, I know League is a competitive game, whereas Genshin is not, but I just wanted to clarify that I don't think that invalidates my point at all. I'm saying that it's not uncommon for companies to go back and be like, okay, this isn't that great. Let's check it out. Let's see what's up. Let's give it a bit of a tuning. For example, even Elden Ring, even though it's not like a live service game, it's a single player game, but the developers still took the time to go back and nerf this axe. There's this ice hatchet that was off in the middle of nowhere, and it when it procced frostbite, it did way too much damage to the bosses. So basically, what they did was they went back and they nerfed that. So it's not uncommon to see changes being made to old content. Is what I'm saying, or what the point I'm trying to make here is. So yeah, just don't get too caught up in the League of Legends example here. Yeah, back to the video. But Genshin doesn't do that. At least not as far as I know. I've never seen them go back and like uh just reevaluate an old character. Like I don't think they've ever done that as far as I know. The game's 2 years old now. You think maybe now would probably be a pretty good time to like maybe start looking back and like going over and like seeing if maybe some numbers buff would be good. Like Klee, I've heard has some numbers problems. I don't have Klee, so I don't know that. But I definitely have characters that I would never use because the numbers are just not good enough and they don't have any abilities that contribute anything really. So uh, let's see what they say in response to that. Is the character is only assessed by a single dimension of numerical strength, power creep could indeed be an issue. However, in Genshin Impact, the rules of gameplay are more impactful than how strong a character is. Therefore, new battlegrounds, new challenge levels, or even new team builds all have potential to bring new life to existing content. Now that's bullshit. Um, yeah, so that's God. I don't even know what to say to that because that's so blatantly wrong for one thing. Because here's the thing: it's like the rules of gameplay. What does that mean for Genshin? Really, it means I think what it means, anyways, is elemental reactions, uh, CC, and mm, I guess that's mainly it. CC elemental reactions, maybe like some I don't know different types of playstyle against different types of enemies. I'm not really sure what they're supposed to be meaning there, but if they mean those three things, um, they are right in some ways. Like I can see why they would think that, but it's like it's like they're ignoring something that is much bigger. It's like, yeah, this is sometimes true, but also there's this huge problem here that you're kind of like overlooking. And yeah, that's just how it feels to me, right? Because it's like, yeah, sure, maybe even if Venti's numbers weren't good, his ability to trap enemies would be great. And like Sucrose, I don't know how good Sucrose is. I used her for a while. I used the CC of being able to group enemies up is really helpful, but again, there's units that don't have stuff like that, that don't have that big CC, don't have that big CC, and then also like don't have the number damage either, just because of how old they are. So going back and like checking out those not champions, going back and checking out those characters would be really beneficial. So I really hope they rethink that idea. That's Okay, so the introduction of Dendro has created plenty of new ways to cause elemental reactions, but some elements have been left out. Has there been any discussion regarding the addition of new reactions for existing elements? And for example, in the future, could there be a new Geo and Dendro reaction? Now, see, this would be absolutely great. It would be a huge boon to any of the elements that don't currently have a reaction with Dendro. So right now, like I said, Geo is in the absolute worst spot in terms of elements. Like obviously, there's some characters in Geo that are really good, like Ito and Zhongli are both good characters individually, but they don't synergize with any other element really. Zhongli just kind of fits in because he has a shield, and more shield characters are becoming obsolete because, well, maybe not obsolete, but they're becoming less useful because they're adding in stuff like the wolves that the shields don't matter for, and then they're and then with like Geo as an element, with all the new enemies they've added with elemental shields, Geo doesn't react with any of them, so it's just really subpar whenever you come up against those. As someone back when I used to play a lot, I went pretty deep into learning stuff like internal cooldowns for elemental applications and stuff like how many times you'd have to hit a shield with a certain element to have it break. Um, Stuff like that. I learned a lot about that. And the thing about the Geo is to have one tick of damage to an elemental shield, you have to proc the element. So the thing about that is to there's this thing called an internal cooldown. I think it's like 2.5 seconds or 3 hits, and then you can proc the element again. Is basically how that works. And for that, as Geo, you have to hit it 3 times for it to actually proc the Geo, right? Or you're waiting 2.5 seconds, and that's already not great. And then when it does actually proc, the amount that the shield goes down is horribly small, especially for like some of the new stuff like the abyss selectors and stuff. And yeah, it makes it really hard to like kill those enemies with Geo or any just because like a lot of the Geo characters they only really synergize with Geo with like a full Geo party. That's so having those Geo characters in your as like a maybe like a full Geo party and like Spiral Abyss and you're fighting like the lectors on like the last floor or something. Um yeah, that fucking sucks, doesn't it? Because it's like it's so difficult, maybe even impossible, I don't know, to hit the the checks for that, right? And of course to that you might say just well, okay, well just don't play Geo. Well, true, right? I mean, you're not wrong, but that's kind of like the problem, right? It's like Geo is just not good because it doesn't have elemental reactions. Though you can still get really good characters that Geo has. Like Ito does a lot of damage on his own, but he also doesn't synergize well because of his element. So that's just kind of like where I'm going with that. Getting back to like the original topic, all right, let's reel it back in a bit. So Dendro reaction with like elements like Geo would be huge, and that would be a huge buff to Geo for one thing. I didn't think they would add in Dendro and just have it react with like two things. Like what? I mean that came out of nowhere. But yeah, so I think the two are Electro and Pyro, right? So Pyro has always been like a really good element to begin with, right? Electro was a pretty not great element. It had subpar damage compared to the other elemental reactions. I heard that's quite a bit improved uh, with the Dendro added to that, which I haven't been able to personally test myself because I only have Kali right now, and I haven't leveled her up all the way yet, so I don't have any basis to say just how much it's improved Electro. But yeah, so if I mean stuff like have cryo and dendro reactions, anemo dendro reactions, that'd be interesting, right? Maybe they won't. I don't know how that would function. That'd be something for Mihoyo to figure out. Because it's like right now, Geo is like way below the other elements, and having a dendro reaction would make it much better. Is what I think. And I've already seen basically what their reply is for this, but I'll read it anyways. Okay, we have no such plans for the time being. With the release of the Dendro element, the 7 element system has become somewhat complex. No, it hasn't. Have you seen like Pokemon attributes? Like, not even that. It's like, it's fine, right? Um, it's become somewhat complex. For us, there are other ways to increase the fun for players rather than simply increasing the complexity of the game rules. With easy and open rules, given some time, players will come to discover their own ways of developing builds. That is the fun of this game. The balancing in all gameplay rules is part of the team's long-term design focus, plus the team's experience and learning from player feedback in the long run are all important to maintain that focus. Now, this is corporate speak for telling the player base that they're a bunch of fucking idiots, is basically what's happening here. But I don't think that's actually the reason why they're not doing this. I don't think they're doing this because they just don't want to have to figure it out. Um, it's just more work, which I think is the actual reason behind this. But again, it does come off a bit as calling the player base fucking stupid, right? It's like it's not that much more complexity than what we already have, right? We're not dumb, right? It's like I could take if like you could add in like all the other elements and it would take me like 5 minutes to figure out what they do with Dendro, right? It's not hard to do that. It's just yeah, I don't know. I this is just it just confuses me, this one. But yeah, I don't know. This just I don't understand this. I can't wrap my head around this part. Let's just move on. So okay, so the world of Tevat continues to expand, giving players so many more challenges to complete. Is there okay? So domains, bosses, ley lines. Is there a chance that we see a cap increase for the original resin or a quicker regeneration rate to allow players to take on more of these challenges each day? Okay, so my thoughts first. I've discussed this in a previous video, but I hate resin systems. Uh, it's literally just this is resin system and like stamina systems are like very core mobile game design, and I'm not a fan of like that specific aspect quite a bit. If I want to come on the weekends and like sit down and like play a game for like 8 hours straight and then not play it again all week, I that's what I want to do, right? But here it's like with resin, it's like you have to play it every day, and it usually takes up a reasonable chunk of time every day to like clear out your resin and do your dailies and shit. This is why I quit the game back in like 2.8 or 2 2.8, I think it was. Not a fan of resin. But if you do have it, it needs to be more than what it is. Just because yeah, it's not great. Or like let us uncap the condensed resin at the very minimum, uncap that. That would be a huge improvement. Okay, so domains, bosses, and ley lines are important means to farm character and weapon ascension materials, and resins are required to claim these items as rewards. Meanwhile, we're also providing more options for gamers to obtain character development items. For example, mini character and weapon ascension materials can be obtained and redeemed from events we run periodically. New players. Okay, so wait, what are they saying here? They didn't even answer the question here. They just went on to another talking point. Like, what the fuck? Um, what they're saying that okay. It's like, are you gonna give us more resin? We're gonna give you more rewards for like other stuff. That's what they said here. Um, I don't. Again, this is another thing like I don't understand because yes, okay, maybe you are giving out more stuff for the events, but are you giving out artifacts for the events? Are you giving out these like you said yourself? Are you giving out these character ascension materials in these events? Like, no, you're not. You're giving out like Mora, you're giving out XP books, and you're giving out maybe some weapon ascension materials. But like, even when you give out the talent materials during the events, they come in like two. That's like 20 resin. Like they don't give out a lot. I don't know what this is really saying here or what they're trying to say, but I think it's just they're not gonna be looking into doing that, which I think is a huge mistake. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this at all. But I guess we'll move on because there's not a lot to say about that. Okay, so new players may have been a bit lost when starting the Summertime Odyssey event because they missed Fischl and Mona's first introductions. This also happened when Saramush showed up in Inazuma's Archon quest after appearing in the limited time Mondstadt event. Is the team considering adding a way for new players to see or replay old story related content and cutscenes that only existed in past limited time events? This is huge because, for one thing, I am personally affected by this because back when they had the Dragonspine event, I played partly through it. This was back when I was like I hadn't really seen a limited time event before. I hadn't done one. And I thought, oh, okay, so I just won't get the rewards for this once this timer runs out, huh? Okay, I can deal with that. I don't need these. And then like the event ended and I couldn't play the quest anymore, and I was like, what the fuck? I was enjoying that quest line quite a bit actually, because I think I was really liking the whole Albedo storyline thing that was going on, and like all the different stuff that was happening in that quest. I loved it. But I wasn't able to see the end of it because it just ended and then it's gone, and then no one else can see it ever again. And that's such a huge problem for the game, is it's like not having content be made and then just destroyed forever. So yeah, they if they brought that back in some way, great, because I I still haven't seen the end of that. I assume I could watch it on YouTube. I don't want to. Hopefully they bring it back. If they bring it back, I'll do it. But we are aware of this issue and are looking into solutions for it. On one hand, stories from limited time events shall never become barriers to understanding and playing Archon quests. On the other hand, we're also working on beginner tutorial adjustments, client capacity optimization, intelligent management of past content, and other optimizations. And as our technology and capacity grow, we hope to have useful solutions that players welcome. Hopefully that means they're working on adding them back in, stuff like the old Dragon Spine event and the back when you first met Fischl and all that. Because up until that second Golden Apple Archipelago event, the only time you see like Fischl in a story quest is at was in that limited time event that I also didn't see, because I didn't play the game back then. But so it's like you have these characters that are in the game that you've never seen before, that you've never interacted with, and it's just kind of weird because right now, since the Golden Apple Archipelago has ended for the second time, if you come into the game now, I don't think you'll be able to meet Fischl in the main storyline or any of the side storylines either, maybe. But yeah, that looks like. Oh no, there's more. Okay, let's see what this is. Costumes were added to the game last year, providing new, stylish looks for some characters. How likely is it that the Traveler becomes a recipient of one of these costumes? It'd be interesting to see the Traveler in clothing that represents some of the regions they enter on their journey. Now, that would be actually, I think, pretty cool. The Traveler has had no visual updates pretty much since the start of the game, and they don't look all that great in my opinion. Right? Like, I play as Aether. It's not. I don't know. It's like I don't even have him in my party. Right? But it's like it'd be an interesting thing to just have that be there. I wouldn't buy skins for that. I wouldn't buy really skins in general. I don't think I've never bought a skin in Genshin Impact. I have gotten at least one from an event where you could get it for free. Yeah, I think that'd be interesting, but I don't really. It's not something that I would be the target market for. It's an intriguing idea to design outfits and accessories with regional characteristics for the Traveler. We don't have anything to share on that front, but we're always considering new ideas. So I don't know. That's probably the first time they've ever thought of that. So maybe they'll think about that internally. I don't know. As a follow up to the previous question, Aether and Lumine seem to get fun little accessories during certain quests, like a mask or a flower crown, but they can only be worn for short periods of time. Have you ever considered turning these temporary accessories into permanent cosmetics? We've been discussing this question within the team and some other ideas similar to it. However, we don't have any news or details to reveal at this time. Okay, so they're talking about like the disguise mask that I've seen before. I'm not really invested in that, but I could see how some people would like that. So hopefully they add that as well. On top of Genshin Impact, Hoyoverse is also working on Honkai Impact 3rd, Zenless Zone Zero, and Honkai Star Rail. There's been a crossover between Genshin Impact and Honkai Impact 3rd in the past, where Kaching and Fischl arrived in Honkai Impact. Are there any plans in store to do the reverse and bring characters from Honkai Impact 3rd into Genshin Impact? Now, I think that would be pretty cool, right? I don't know if they do that. I have seen a few of the Honkai Impact character designs, and Honkai Impact characters are pretty good looking. So, um, I would be certainly happy to see some new characters from there, but I'm not expecting that to be the case. In terms of characterization, we wish to channel more effort and attention into creating characters from the world of Genshin Impact. If there are new opportunities for crossover events in the future, we will be sure to share them with everyone. The thing about if there are new opportunities for crossover in the future, um, I don't really. see why they have to say it like that. If there are new opportunities for crossover in the future, it's both games are run by your company. If you want to do it, you can just do it. But I mean, it doesn't really matter. It is what it is. That's the article. There's definitely a lot I wished was not the case. There's some stuff that's okay, right? Like some new stuff that'd be pretty good to add in. There's like half of it's things that I'm not a real fan of, and then like a quarter of it is things I don't really care about, and then like another quarter of it is things that like I'm interested in seeing in the future. So I don't know. This is kind of an L for me, but I don't know. I've got some mixed feelings about this one. I'm not a big fan, but some parts are good to look forward to, like the replayability of events and stuff like that. So I guess that's all I have to say about that. That's my thoughts on it. Bit of a different video from what I normally do, but I felt like I could go ahead and make one over this because I haven't actually seen uh, an actual interview from the Genshin developers before. So I thought this was an interesting opportunity to just go through and like see like maybe what they're planning for going forward. So yeah, I'll leave this here. And again, thanks to Tectone for I don't know looking at this on stream when I popped in, just so I could see that this was like a thing that happened, and I can come make my own video on it. Do like a fresh reaction from my own self. But yeah, thanks Tectone for bringing this to my attention and probably many other people's attention as well. I'll leave this here,